What's going on, YouTube? It's Masterpiece, and I'm here to share something pretty deep with you guys, and I really hope that you guys can relate to what I'm about to say, because as a plant-based eater, I find that a lot of people will tell me that I'm killing plants. They try to somehow equate the plants, that which all the animals in the world have an option to graze on, and many depend on. They use the plants as their energy source, their sustenance. So they try to say, well, I may be paying for an animal slaughter, but you and all your vegan buddies are paying for whole fields of agriculture to be slaughtered and mutilated. I'm going to show you something very special to me, and then we're going to relate it to a sustainable diet. Right here we have a cactus. In Jamaica, they call this tuna. This cactus was actually brought back from Jamaica by me. I was actually stopped at the airport, and they searched my bags because of this. And I told them that it was my shampoo because I had dreadlocks at the time, and the Rastas use, and other Jamaicans use this, and other Caribbeans, people all around the tropics use cactus for hair and skin products. So me being the naturalist that I like to be, I took this back, and I took pieces that were roughly about this size, all chopped up. There was one flank and then two, and there was altogether about 6 pieces. I brought it home and I sat it in some water. Now, right then and there, you would accuse that vegan of killing the plant when I took 6 pieces of this and brought it back to Canada. But I only took a few notches, and the cactus in Jamaica is still thriving. And I'll tell you this, I used the other 6 pieces. One of them went bad. I used the other 4 pieces in my hair, and I put one of them in water. And at the time, what had happened was these little barnacles, these thorns on the cactus, what happened was they started to grow roots, as you can see there. See all these roots, they're growing. So what I did was, after the roots were long enough and substantial enough, I transferred them into a sandy, rocky mixture of soil and earth. And maybe 4 years later, we have what we see today. And it's been through a lot of damages. It's been inside, it goes inside in the winter, comes outside in the summer. But as you can see, it is not dead. And I can now cut more of these off and continue to use it for my scalp and my skin. You can kill plants and end their life with improper farming techniques. And there are some things that we do eat that require it to be uprooted, like a beet, for example. But we do this, if we were doing this sustainably, which farmers like to do because it's cheaper, they wait for some of their produce to be matured enough to the point where it bears seed, and then they store those seeds for next year's or 2 years or 5 years down the line harvest or planting season. So it's a continuously replenishing process, and it's beautiful. Now, if this plant here was a chicken or a cow or a fish, I couldn't cut off a limb of that animal and place it somewhere, as I would in the dirt with the plant, and expect that limb, say the leg or the fin, to grow another fish or a chicken or a cow. I would actually have to arrange it so that the whole mating process happens. And if profit is the bottom line, then what most frequently happens around the world, Australia, UK, Canada, and America, is you would have to artificially impregnate the female species in order to keep progenerating the life. To keep your investment sound, your farm stable, you need to ensure that you are getting the best semen. So bull semen is saved in banks, and it's pricey. It's a high price. So it's a very unnatural process, which means the animals are being used as a product, a commodity. It's not food. It was a living being, and it has turned into a carcass, and it is being sold in plastic bags and styrofoam. Plants do not have a central nervous system and a brain that transmits pain and exhibits signs of fear. There is no scientist today or botanist that would say that a plant has the capacity to feel excruciating pain and torture. When you look at an animal, you can tell that it is trying to get out of your trap, that it is moving out of harm's way, that it is running away from the butcher. You know, they say that when you chop a chicken's head off, the legs keep on going, the legs keep on running. The last bodily action for that chicken was to run. And even after it's dead, it's still showing you that it doesn't want to be there. Even after it's dead. So, to everyone that is feeling guilty about eating animals, that is natural. But try not to be too hard on yourselves, because it's what we are taught. As long as we are moving in a direction of compassion and peace and good environmental practices and healthy diets, then you are opening up the capacity to love. You influence others around you to be more compassionate, to be more health conscious, to be more earth and environmentally conscious. We have to look what we're actually doing. When we send animals to slaughter, the excretion, the blood that seeps into our waterways, into our oceans and rivers, and into our plants, we are ruining our environment and causing unnecessary pain. We are breeding trillions of animals into existence for the sole purpose to be slaughtered. Now, we do that with plants as well, for the sole purpose to be eaten. But did you know that when you work the soil and when you rotate the soil and the foliage breaks off, you are actually providing nutrients to the soil and to the worms and to all the bugs that thrive in that environment and actually make the ecology of that soil, of that earth, better. So farming is actually beneficial to all life on this planet. And then people say, well, what about the worms that get, caught in the blades as we work and toil and till through the soil for our food? You can cut a worm in half and both halves will live. You can bring one to one place and another half to the other place or leave it there, and they will actually both survive. And you can do that again up to like 2 or 3 times. Now that's not true for every animal, but this is also why we have to get back to having our own gardens so that we can put the care into it and we can manage and mitigate the death toll. If you're really that serious, that's taking it to a whole nother level. But we gotta walk before we run here, because this is a huge shift. If we were to say all animal exploitation is banned as of tomorrow, there would still be trillions of animals in cages, in farms, in factories. So it has to be a gradual change. And if it was to the point where we stopped it and we banned it the very next day, then what we could simply do is open up stadiums and large pieces of land for these animals to live their lives out happily, and we could actually see the population of these bred for food animals diminish, and the balance will be restored, and maybe there will be some new animals as a result of that. But that all happens, and much more ideas can happen as well once we start shifting what we define as food and what we define as a living sentient being. A fish, an oyster, a shrimp, lobster, crab, birds of all kinds, the turkeys, the chicken, the fowl, animals, the grazers, the deer, cow. Some people eat horse, ox, buffalo. We don't need to eat any of this. Why don't we just eat what they eat? The stuff that grows itself back. The plants. The stuff that you don't even have to try to replenish. It just does it on its own. Sit it in some water. Watch it grow back before your eyes. Give it a little bit of TLC. So I think the argument of vegans kill plant life is totally null and void. And I think with the proper farming practices, we can actually regrow deserts and regrow vast expanses of land that used to once harbor many different forms of vegetation. But I need you. We all need you watching this here and now to make that change. Start off with 1 salad a day, then elevate it to 2. If you're eating meat 5 times a week, bring it down to 3, and then to 1, until it's completely gone. And then you can start breathing again and lowering your chance of disease. It's time to make the change. And it starts with the person in the mirror. As the lady that wrote that song for Michael Jackson said, I'm starting with the man in the mirror. Alright, y'all. Master Peace. Like I always say, eat to live.